Hello. I just want to continue working with the tutorials with you again. Again, we are working with rhythm. We are working with the use of movement, and also, of course, we're emphasizing on the quality of line. I want to recap a little bit that we are holding the Sharpie as a tool. We are extending it outwards as an extension of our fingers. And also, we're also trying to make sure that our wrist is not bent. We want to have that nice motion of entire arm. And as far as the motor, it's actually the shoulder. The shoulder is actually pumping energy and actually moving everything across. As far as the spacing in between the lines, that's pretty much your elbow being drawn back very, very slowly, or sometimes a little bit faster, depending if you're here or maybe here or back here again. So again, the elbow is creating the distance between the lines. And you can make it a test, because some people will do this, watch. And they're thinking they're doing great. And they'll say, did I do well? Let me try to do this. The students do it better than I do. I keep wanting to do this. But anyways, what happens here a lot is the students will make the line the correct length, which is great. But at the same time, they have the same spacing in between each one. So it kind of fails in that sense. So they did well as far as the stroke, but the spacing is a little bit too constant. You want to make sure the spacing is always a little bit different. It's unique in a sense where it keeps increasing, and from here you start to decrease as you move towards your shade or towards your shadow, or make it create the illusion that it's moving away. Now this one here, we're going to do the same thing again, but now we're going to incorporate an oval. So instead of a straight line like this, we're going to go like this. So again, holding it the same way. And what's happening here, the motor again is going to be the shoulder. And what you're looking for is an ellipse. An ellipse that will go around and go right back into the space of that same line. If you're going like this too much, well, that's kind of like a continuation, but you want to make sure that you're able to consistently draw a nice oval. Consistently. So you may want to start off with this. And again, we don't need them to be circular. We're better off with more oval, because we're trying to create the sense of perspective as if it's going into space and coming back towards you. If we make a circle, it'll have that sense of that kind of flatness. We wanted that oval a little bit more so. So the way this is going to work, it's going to be a lot like the other that we did straight lines. We kind of opened them up, and then of course we close the transition. We close the transition in the sense that the lines are closer, but also they start, of course, opening, and they also open between the space in between, and of course we close towards the end. In this case here, instead of using a straight line, we're going to use an oval. So again, you'll draw a small little oval, you'll stay there, until you feel the rhythm. And once the rhythm is done or complete, then you can open it up, and then you can close it again. That one's kind of decent. Let's try it again. So again, if you don't have your rhythm, you have to stay there. And once you stay there long enough, you'll feel the rhythm. And I do pretty much the same thing as this, except that I use, of course, a curved ellipse. So again, I started very, very small, and then I open, but I never lost my rhythm. When you lose your rhythm, it's going to look something like this. You may start off really, really clean, and you go, and then, all the lines, it's just like using the straight lines. When one line's off, it kind of throws everything off. And you want to be able to see the spacing that is different between each one. So, of course, it started off kind of small here, and then it got a little bit wider, and then it got smaller again. So definitely you can be able to see the spacing. So is this one pretty good? Yeah, it does reach fairly well. Here, maybe here, not as well, but it does have definitely a really, really nice sense of form. So again, this is something you can practice. I usually have the students practice this at least 100 times. This one is, what do you mean 100 times? Well, it only takes maybe 30 seconds or 20 seconds to do one. See, this one wasn't very good. It started off a little bit better, but here in the middle, not so good. But definitely it takes concentration. You just have to kind of just block everything out. But again, I am working at a diagonal because again, I really want to be able to move my arm inwards and outwards very, very effortlessly. That one's a little bit better. I do a little bit better if I don't talk while I try to do this, just because it requires a little bit more focus. Now, a very, very important part of it too is you do not want to drag your entire arm. So you want to make sure you lift your arm just a little bit. So try to sit in a taller chair. I usually have the students stand on their drawing desk just so they don't drag so much. Because when you drag, it's kind of hard to move your arm as you move downwards. Let's try that again. That was a little bit better. As far as, again, the Sharpie, I'm not like crushing on it. I'm letting it glide on the surface. The only thing that kind of like touches the paper is the outer edges of my pinky. So again, it's just going to barely touch. And again, I'm not dragging my arm on the back end. You know, just trying to just kind of drift across the space. So again, this is very, very important too. So when you start drawing almost anything, you know, again, if you want to have that sense of a really nice curve, or to be somewhat rounded, you know, these organic shapes, you know, you have that sense of flow. Okay, so again, practice this as much as you possibly can. See if you can get some nice rhythm with that. So again, we practice with a straight line, transitioning, and then transitioning back. And of course, we try to work with this idea of this ellipse. So before you start, you know, try to draw some ellipse. But even before you touch the paper, try to get the movement, try to get the motion, and then touch the paper. So again, you want that line to kind of feed into that line. Once it feeds right into that line, you know your rhythm is getting better. Your rhythm is getting better. You can go outwards and inwards. And again, you're not going slowly. Some people like to draw slowly with these little ugly little... The reason I say ugly is because they're very distracting. You really don't get a sense of a really nice flow of line just because it's broken up into a million pieces. So again, anyone can do this. You know, sometimes the OCD side of you will say, no, it's weird. You know, I need more control over it. But again, this idea is, again, you want to make sure you move. You are using your shoulder. As far as the hands are doing nothing but just gently grasping the Sharpie. And then from there, of course, try to establish that nice movement. And then from there, get your nice rhythm. From there, you can start pulling it downwards, downwards, downwards. Don't really look at the back line. A lot of people want to look at the entire line as it goes around, and they just kind of get lost. Concentrate more so on the movement. So just how you did this same movement going all the way down, it didn't seem awkward. But over here, if you focus on that line going all the way around, once it overlaps itself, you can easily get lost. So don't think about that. Think about the movement as you move forward. So more spacing as you move forward. And then when you get towards the middle, you say, I'm going to reduce the amount of spacing. So again, the most important thing that we're gaining control, we're trying to establish a nice idea of rhythm. And that rhythm is incorporating this idea or the illusion of movement. You know, with a very, very simple line, we're learning how to hold a Sharpie or the tool in many different ways, you know, to maximize results. So again, we're not bending here. We're holding this softly. We're holding this out. We're making sure that we angle across our body to maximize this idea of effortless movement. And also, of course, you know, trying to incorporate this idea of rhythm and grace to the drawing. Okay, I'll move on to the next tutorial for the next section, which will be using our wrist. Thank you.